Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Today we're venturing into some lighter territory.
Lighter than the usual apocalypse stuff we cover.
Yeah, we're talking humor.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Specifically, humor found in the great outdoors.
Surviving bears with a smile.
Something like that.
Sounds like my kind of camping trip.
Our source material for this deep dive is a collection of jokes and stories titled Humor on High.
Humor on High. Where'd you find that?
I stumbled across it on Wattpad.
Ah, Wattpad, a treasure trove of, well, everything.
Exactly. It's full of gems, and this one is packed with short jokes and anecdotes, perfect for those who love the outdoors.
Or those who love laughing at those who love the outdoors.
You got it.
Let's get this joke fest started.
Right, let's dive right in with a classic.
A classic. Okay, lay it on me.
So picture this. A golfer goes to the doctor for a checkup,
Already sounds hilarious.
and the doctor is blown away by the guy's physique.
You're like, ripped. Six-pack abs.
You got it. The doctor's impressed and asks, "What's your fitness routine?"
Here comes the punchline.
The golfer describes an intense day, walking miles over rough terrain, climbing over obstacles, wading through water.
Sounds more like an adventure race than golf.
I know, right? And he even mentions sliding down sandy slopes.
Okay, this guy's definitely not playing mini golf.
And then comes the punchline. "Not really, Doc. I'm just a terrible golfer."
Ha ha ha. Classic misdirection. You think he's some kind of outdoor athlete.
Right.
And then, bam! It's all because he can't hit a straight shot.
It's so relatable, especially for anyone who's ever struggled on the golf course.
Even if you've never touched a club, you can appreciate the humor there.
Okay, ready for something a little cheekier?
Bring it on. The cheekier, the better.
So we've got an old farmer.
The wise old farmer, full of life lessons and quirky stories.
This farmer goes down to his pond to pick some fruit.
A peaceful day in the country.
But he gets a surprise. A group of young women were skinny dipping in his pond.
Oh my, that's quite the unexpected sight.
The women are flustered, telling him they won't come out until he leaves.
A classic standoff. What does the farmer do?
He doesn't miss a beat. He holds up his bucket and says,
Oh, I bet he's got a witty comeback.
"Ladies, I didn't come down here to watch you swim naked or make you get out.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
I just came to feed the crocodile."
Oh, snap. That's
cute.
brilliant. Talk about flipping the script.
Right. It's unexpected.
And it plays on those classic farmer stereotypes, always calm, always resourceful, always a little bit mischievous.
Exactly. Okay, let's shift gears to some quickfire jokes.
Quick fire. I'm ready.
This one's for the gardeners out there. Someone asked how to tell the difference between a rose and a dandelion.
That's a good question.
And the advice was, pull them all up. If it comes back, it's a weed.
Ah, the wisdom of experience. So simple, yet so true.
I know, right? I feel like that applies to so many things in life, not just gardening.
It's the ultimate test. If it's persistent, it's probably a problem.
And speaking of persistent problems, here's one about the weather.
Ah, yes, the universal conversation starter. Complaining about the weather.
Someone was describing a brutal winter, snowdrifts up to their knees, freezing temperatures.
Sounds like a recipe for staying inside by the fire.
And then they added, "On the bright side, at least the mosquitoes are gone."
There's always a silver lining, even if it's buried under a foot of snow.
Exactly. It's all about perspective, finding humor in the less than ideal situations.
Okay, that one's definitely relatable, especially for anyone who's been through a rough winter.
Here's another quick one about mosquitoes.
Oh, I'm sure we can all relate to this one.
Imagine a campfire scene. A little boy and his friend are getting eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Ah, the classic camping experience.
And then fireflies start appearing.
Ah, those magical little lights. How do they do that?
The boy looks up and says, "These darn mosquitoes are so determined, they've even brought lanterns to find us."
Ah, a child's perspective on those relentless pests.
It's so innocent, and yet it perfectly captures the frustration we all feel.
It's those unexpected observations that make kids' jokes so great.
All right, ready for a story that's a bit of a wild ride.
Hit me with it. I'm all ears.
Imagine you're out on a lake, enjoying a peaceful boat ride.
Ah, sounds idyllic.
And then you spot what looks like a drowning dog.
Oh, no, poor thing.
Your heart starts pounding, adrenaline kicks in, you rush to the rescue.
Heck, save the pup.
But as you get closer, you realize
Oh, I bet it's not a dog at all, is it?
it's a bear.
A bear. That's not what I was expecting.
The rescuer decided to let the dog handle its own swimming after that.
I bet they did. I can't imagine mistaking a bear for a dog, especially in a lake.
I know, right? It's a classic bait and switch, playing on our assumptions and that initial moment of panic.
It's funny because it's unexpected and maybe a little bit scary too.
All right, ready for a longer joke.
Bring it on. I've got my listening ears on.
This one's about a young man who's completely mortified by the outhouse on his family farm.
Ah, the classic outhouse dilemma. Not exactly a romantic setting.
He's got a girlfriend he wants to impress,
Yeah.
but that outhouse, it's a deal breaker.
I can see the problem. He needs a bathroom upgrade stat.
He begs his dad for a modern bathroom, but the old man refuses.
Stubborn dads. Gotta love them.
In a moment of desperation, the young man decides to take matters into his own hands.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
He sneaks out one night and pushes the entire outhouse down a hill.
Whoa, that's a drastic solution.
The next morning, his dad confronts him.
Uh-oh. Dad's not gonna be happy about this.
He reminds him about the story of George Washington and the cherry tree.
Ah, the classic tale of honesty.
Reluctantly, the young man confesses.
Now, his dad's gonna launch into a lecture about honesty and responsibility.
He does, but with a twist.
Oh, I love a good plot twist.
He praises his son for telling the truth and then says, as punishment, you have to start digging the pit for the new outhouse right away.
Wait, what? That's the punishment.
The son is outraged. But Dad, when George Washington admitted to chopping down the cherry tree, his father didn't punish him.
Good point. Where's the fairness?
The dad calmly replies, that's true, son, but George's dad wasn't in the cherry tree when he chopped it down.
No, snap. That's a classic dad joke.
It's so cheesy, but you can't help but laugh.
It's that perfect blend of wordplay, a familiar story, and unexpected consequences.
All right, one more joke before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
I'm ready for another round of laughter.
This one's for anyone who's experienced the chaos of a family camping trip.
Oh, I've been there. The packing, the unpacking, the inevitable meltdowns.
So picture this. A family pulls into a campsite, their minivan overflowing with kids.
Ah, the classic family road trip vehicle.
And those kids, they spring into action, setting up camp like a well-oiled machine.
Impressive. That's some serious camping efficiency.
A nearby camper, amazed by their speed, asks the father, what's your secret?
I need to know the secret. My camping trips are usually a bit more, shall we say, chaotic.
The father replies, simple. Nobody's allowed to use the bathroom until the camp is set up.
Oh, wow. That's a bold strategy, but I can see how it would motivate those kids.
I don't know about you, but I think I'd risk a bathroom break.
Me too. I admire their dedication, but I value my bladder too much for that kind of pressure.
Okay, how about a couple more quick jokes?
Hit me with them. I'm on a roll.
Here's one for the hikers. If there's one thing I've learned about hiking, it's that the early bird gets a face full of spider webs.
Ain't that the truth? It's those little surprises that make you appreciate the beauty of nature, but maybe with a little more caution.
And speaking of surprises, here's one for those who've ever had to share a tent with a snorer. In an emergency, a drawstring from a parka hood can be used to strangle a snoring tent mate.
Okay, that one's a bit dark, but I get the sentiment. There's nothing quite like trying to sleep next to someone who sounds like a chainsaw.
All right, are you ready for one last story before we wrap up this part of our deep dive?
Absolutely. Lay it on me.
This one involves a bit of miscommunication and a whole lot of humor.
Oh, I love a good miscommunication story. They always lead to the best laughs.
It starts with an older lady who wants to book a camping spot,
Okay, seems straightforward enough.
but she's a bit embarrassed to ask about bathroom facilities.
Ah, I can see the problem.
In her letter, she tries to be discreet and settles on the abbreviation BC.
BC. Not exactly the clearest way to ask about bathrooms.
The campground owner is totally baffled by the BC reference.
Oh, I can only imagine the confusion. Poor guy. He's probably racking his brain trying to figure out what she means.
He shows the letter to other campers, but no one can crack the code.
It's like a camping mystery. What does BC stand for?
Finally, someone suggests that maybe she's referring to the Baptist church down the road.
Oh no, this is gonna be good. The classic case of mistaken identity.
The campground owner, armed with this new, albeit incorrect information, decides to respond to the lady's letter.
Oh, this is gonna be epic. He's about to give her a detailed rundown of the church, isn't he?
You know it. He describes this BC as a large facility 9 miles away that can seat 250 people.
Wait, is he talking about church pews? This is getting better by the minute.
And he even mentions how crowded it gets on Sundays.
Oh, this is priceless. He's picturing this sweet lady going to church, not realizing she's asking about a very different kind of facility.
He also makes a comment about normal delivery sounds.
Normal delivery sounds. What in the world does that even mean in this context?
And to top it all off, He suggests she might want to bring a lunch and make a day of it.
He's thinking potluck and hymnals, while she's thinking about, well,
Exactly. Can you imagine what went through that lady's mind when she opened this letter? Talk about a miscommunication of epic proportions.
I'm dying to know what happens next. This story is pure gold. I can't wait to hear the rest of it.
That's where we'll leave you hanging for now.
Oh, the suspense.
Join us in part 2, where we'll uncover the rest of this hilarious story and dive deeper into the humor behind this epic miscommunication.
I'm already counting down the minutes.
You won't want to miss it.
I wouldn't dream of it.
See you there.
I'll be there with bells on.
All right. Until next time, happy trails.
And happy laughing. Oh, that BC story. I'm still chuckling.
I know, right? You got to admire the campground owner's commitment to hospitality.
A little too committed, maybe.
Well, before we go updating all our camping reservation emails,
You think we should? Add a bathroom glossary or something.
maybe. But first, more jokes from Humor on High.
Oh, yeah. Hit me with another one.
Remember that family with the super efficient camp setup?
The no bathroom breaks family?
Yeah. This next joke reminds me of that.
Okay, but less intense, I hope.
Definitely less intense. It's about a dad on a road trip.
Road trip with kids. Now, that's a recipe for adventure.
And this dad's got a unique strategy for dealing with those inevitable bathroom break requests.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What's this dad's secret weapon?
He doesn't stop. No rest stops, no bathroom breaks.
Buddy, seriously, he just powers through.
Yep. Just pure driving determination, ignoring all pleas for a pit stop.
I think we've all encountered that type of driver, haven't we? The one who sees stopping as a personal defeat.
It's like they enter a time warp. Nothing exists but the road ahead.
And their bladder of steel, apparently.
Speaking of journeys, this next joke is for the hikers out there.
Okay, I'm a hiker. Lay it on me.
It goes, if there's one thing I've learned about hiking, it's that the early bird gets a face full of spider webs.
Ain't that the truth? You're enjoying the sunrise, feeling all one with nature, and bam.
Right. Spiderweb to the face.
It's a rude awakening, for sure.
And sometimes a little creepy.
Especially if you're not a fan of spiders.
Okay, and while we're on the topic of unexpected encounters in the wild.
Oh, you mean like bears disguised as drowning dogs?
Not quite. This one's about those nighttime surprises.
You mean like spooky noises and rustling leaves?
Well, those too, but I was thinking more along the lines of a snoring tent mate.
Oh, yeah. That can definitely ruin a peaceful night under the stars.
Don't worry, Humor on High has a solution, though you might want to take it with a grain of salt.
A grain of salt. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It says, in an emergency, a drawstring from a parka hood can be used to strangle a snoring tent mate.
Okay, now that one is definitely dark humor, but I've got to admit it's kind of funny in a twisted way.
It speaks to that level of desperation you reach when you're sleep-deprived and desperate for silence.
I'm sure we've all been there at some point, haven't we? Maybe not to that extreme, but...
Okay, are you ready to hear the conclusion of that BC letter?
Oh, absolutely. I need to know how this miscommunication saga ends.
So, the campground owner's still under the impression that the lady's asking about the Baptist church.
The poor woman has no idea what she's in for.
He goes on to say, it may interest you to know that a supper is planned next month to raise money to buy more seats.
Wait, is he talking about church pews? This is just getting better and better.
And then he continues, if you do decide to come down to our campground, there are a few folks here who'd be happy to go with you to the BC the first time, sit with you, and introduce you to all the other people. You see, we have a very friendly community here.
Oh, bless his heart. He's picturing this sweet older lady visiting the church for the first time and wants to make sure she feels welcome.
It's so wholesome, yet so hilariously off base.
It's like a train wreck you can't look away from. It's just too funny.
It really is. I mean, can you imagine the look on that lady's face when she read that letter?
I can only imagine the confusion and maybe a little bit of horror.
It's a reminder that sometimes our attempts at being polite or discreet can backfire spectacularly.
But hey, at least it makes for a great story. And it definitely highlights the importance of clear communication.
Especially when it comes to, shall we say, sensitive topics.
Yes. When in doubt, just be direct and spare yourself the potential for hilarious misinterpretations.
All right, ready for another joke?
Always. Jokes are my love language.
This one's a little different, a bit darker perhaps, but it made me chuckle.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Hit me with your dark humor.
It goes, joggers creep me out, not because they're out and about at all hours of the day and night, but because of how many bodies they find.
Oh, wow. That took a dark turn. But I see the humor. It's kind of morbidly funny.
It's that unexpected twist, right?
Yeah.
You think it's going one way, and then bam.
It plays on our awareness of true crime and that, for some reason, joggers seem to find everything.
I know, right? They're like the unofficial CSI of the park.
It's a reminder that humor can be found in even the most unexpected places.
And sometimes, a little dark humor can be a good way to process things.
It's all about finding the light in the darkness, or at least finding something to laugh about in the midst of it all.
So, as we wrap up our exploration of humor on high, what are some key takeaways for you?
For me, it's a reminder that humor is more than just jokes and funny stories.
It's a way of life, an approach to dealing with the absurdities of, well, everything.
Exactly. It's about finding the humor in the everyday, the unexpected, and even the sometimes uncomfortable.
And it's a reminder to never take ourselves too seriously.
Especially when we're out in nature, where things rarely go according to plan.
So, as you head out on your next outdoor adventure,
Remember to pack your sense of humor along with your bug spray and sunscreen.
it might be the most important piece of gear you bring.
And if you stumble upon any funny stories or jokes along the way, be sure to share them with us.
We're always up for a good laugh.
Laughter is the best medicine after all.
And on that note, until next time, happy trails.
And happy laughing! Welcome back!
To our deep dive into outdoor humor.
I'm still thinking about that BC letter.
It's one for the books, that's for sure.
Makes you wonder what other miscommunications are happening out there.
I know, right? The world's full of them.
But hey, at least they give us something to laugh about.
Exactly. And that's what we've been exploring in this deep dive.
All those jokes and stories from humor on high
From golfing fails to camping chaos.
and everything in between.
Before we wrap things
I
up,
want one more joke up your sleeve.
I do. This one's a little different.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's a bit darker.
Dark humor, bring it on.
All right, here goes. Joggers creep me out. Not because they're out and about at all hours of the day and night, but because of how many bodies they find.
Oh, wow. That took a dark turn.
But you gotta admit, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's that morbid curiosity, right?
Like, what are the odds?
Joggers seem to be the ones stumbling upon all the evidence.
It's like they've got a sixth sense for it.
Maybe they could start a detective agency.
The Jogger Detectives.
I'd watch that show.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
What have we learned?
what are your takeaways?
I think it's clear that humor is more than just a way to make us laugh.
It's a way to connect, to cope, to see the world a little differently,
Exactly. It's a survival skill, especially when you're out in the wilderness.
where things rarely go according to plan.
There's pretending to drown, BC, confusion, usual.
So as you head out on your next adventure,
Remember to pack your sense of humor.
it might be the most important thing you bring.
Because when things get tough, a good laugh can make all the difference.
And if you happen to hear any good jokes along the way,
Be sure to share them with us.
we're always up for a good laugh.
Until next time, happy trails and happy laughing.
That's a wrap on this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.